I went for the Shona drama because in the Shona drama was the real drama. You know, that was like, amai wari kubiridzira baba.
Yes.
And vana vakuziva kuti baba vari kubiridzira amai. You know what I mean? And I remember the feeling in my heart at that time. I said to myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. When I go write my SATs, there's two signs. SATs, yellow card auditions.
Oh.
Sometimes when I look back at it, if it were not for pictures, I don't think people would believe, my children wouldn't believe me. You know, when I tell them, I'm like, listen, check who I was with in New York. I was with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. I've written you into this show and I need you to bring that Nigerian accent. I was like, brother, you don't have to ask. I am coming now.
You're already
Don't worry about nothing. Yes. I am coming now. And people don't know I was imaging for 5FM. They just be like, wow, this voice. Like, yeah, this is 5FM. Yes. You know, rocking that. Yeah. You recognize the voice.
Yeah.
Nuggets.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being patient and for sharing with us your valuable time. I know it's not easy for anyone to just give you even a minute. Yeah, it's rough, eh? So, but thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in. So, like we spoke earlier on, the key thing for us is for you to, you know, reach out to another child that's up there, whether it's India, whether it's States, or whether it's Germany, or whether it's Kenya or Egypt. We want you to share your story, you know, share some golden nuggets that you have experienced and some challenges maybe that you've overcome that you think maybe it's also valuable for someone out there to learn and to start to be inspired and to take a new direction in their life. So we all about, you're part of the family of Banking Smiles and Happiness.
Thank you.
That's what we do. So yeah, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, guys. And it's such an honor to be here. And I think you really caught me at a time where it's a turning point in my own life as well. And no better time than to share your story when you are going through a turning point in your life. You know, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, and I was raised by a single mother, my mother Florence Gopal. I love my mom dearly. She's one of the most inspirational people in my life. A praying mother, a very supportive mother. And with that came my older sister, Claudia, also very supportive. I mean, we fought until I was about 14 when I was quite big. Then she realized, okay. This guy actually, I can't bully him anymore. You know, but that in its own really made us very close. In that same house also was my mom's younger sister, my Auntie Rash. Also a very loving woman, very prayerful woman. So I mention that quite a lot because I grew up in that kind of environment. I grew up in a church home. My mom did really well in introducing us to church at a very young age. We went to church, I think, of the 7 days we were at church, between 6 to 5 days a week we were in church. Wow. Because my mom was part of the prayer group. She had a cell group at her house. She was part of the choir. She had a band as well that she was in. And then I was in the youth and I was in Sunday school. Wow. So all these different sectors of church, you know, operated at least once, one day of the week. True. So 6 days a week I was at church, you know, but I appreciate that background because it provided such a beautiful grounding for me. It gave me great faith, unwavering faith from a very young age. And my mom came from an entertainment background as well. You know, she was a supermodel back in the days in Zimbabwe. You know, she was a person who really supported very much whatever your dream or whatever your vision was. She was somebody who was very open to making sure that you follow that through. So I grew up in a very beautiful home. You know, I cannot look back at my childhood and think we were rich or we were poor, but we were great. One thing I know that we never ran out of was love. My mom was very loving, a very disciplined woman. She disciplined us. When we were wrong, you'd best know It's coming your way.
Discipline.
You know, which provided, I think, a good now in hindsight, when you look at it, you're actually grateful and go, you know what? I'm glad I was not a spoiled child, that my mom disciplined me when I needed to be disciplined.
Yes.
I appreciate it because it's given me some good boundaries for my own life. When I was younger, I had dreams and visions of being a pilot.
Sorry. Just to cut you off. What did you? I know you never had this option of selecting the name. They probably gave you a name that you probably added. I don't know if you got 2 or 3, but and they gave you even a certificate that you qualified about life. But you're telling us you're in a turning point now.
Yeah,
this is interesting.
Yeah.
So just for everyone to know you there. Yeah.
My name is Leroy Gopal. I'm an actor by profession. I'm a creative director, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a proud dad.
Bo, 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 bo. Nice.
And I'm a proud dad. When I was young, I think my dreams and my visions were to become a pilot.
Okay.
And as I got older, I realized that mathematics wasn't my friend.
Okay. So, I think it's most people. Eh?
Just like I feel you.
Yeah.
So I realized that mathematics wasn't really my thing. Yeah. So just from realizing that, I thought to myself, maybe I can't be a pilot anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So by the time I was 12, 11 actually, I had given my life to Christ.
Nice.
I was born again at the age of 11. And by the time I was 12, I was part of a group called the Sunshine Friends.
Okay.
And with the Sunshine Friends, what we did was we went around the country in Zimbabwe in a combi with a guy called Blair Christink.
Okay.
And there was about 8 of us in this group, and we were puppeteers. And we would actually use puppets to share the word of Christ. But
that's at the age of
12. That's at 12.
Wow.
So by 12, I was actually a Sunday school teacher as well. So when we were not traveling on a Sunday, you would find me at church teaching Sunday school. What I love about that part of my life was just amazing how God's alignment and God's plans work.
Okay.
Because in doing all of that, I didn't know that actually God was preparing me for a performance platform.
Oh.
Because in teaching and in going around with Sunshine Friends, we were actors.
Oh,
We were performing. We would use, we'd tell all the parables in the Bible using skits and stuff.
Yes.
And that was such a great ground for performance. At the age of 13, I was at Gateway High School. I had a maths teacher called Roger Hawkins. Thank you, sir. I tell this story all the time when I get a chance.
Yeah.
Mr. Hawkins, by profession, was a theater director and a musician. And in the middle of Form 1, at the age of 13, he came in one day and said, guys, listen, I'm giving up mathematics. I'm going to go direct a play. Is there anybody who's interested to come with? And I was sitting right at the back because, I wasn't a maths guy.
Yeah. I've got company now.
So I out of the odd, I don't know how many number of kids we were in that class, I was only going to raise my hand. And then my best friend Trey was sitting next to me, and I literally yanked his hand and I put his hand up with mine. And I was like, we're coming, sir. Right? And for sure, he took our details. He said, guys, I'm going to be in touch. And he got in touch with our parents, and we were automatically cast in this play called The Singer.
Okay.
The Singer, actually, we didn't know how talented Mr. Hawkins was. The Singer was a musical based on if Jesus was born in the 90s, how would the story of Jesus have been told? So it was a musical. It had all genres of music, from rap, soul, reggae, rock.
Wow.
Everything was in there in this musical. And we didn't know the magnitude of the show that we've gotten ourselves into until we started rehearsing intensively. And we were like, man, we've been going at these rehearsals for almost 2 months. When is the big day coming? We've been at this thing.
I hope you were not thinking about going back.
No. And so we'd spent so much time with Roger Hawkins and these other musicians.
Yeah.
And Andrew Nongogo, actually, who was also the praise and worship leader at the very same church I was going to, was cast as Jesus in this play.
Oh, interesting.
And Seven Arts Theatre, one day the play opened. Myself and my friend Trey actually are opening. We're the first point of contact when the curtain raises.
Oh,
Because it's Jesus in the 90s, and we are street kids who are the narrators of the story, to say there would be these street kids that would be following Jesus everywhere he goes.
oh,
And they'd be narrating his story.
oh, okay.
So at first we thought this as a gimmick and as, hey, we get to bunk school,
Yeah.
we get to hang out and stuff, but
Free time.
it after a couple of years, we were like, actually what we did was amazing.
True.
So when the curtain came up and Seven Arts Theatre, one of the biggest theatres at that time in 1993, that was that year, sat 1,500 people at its capacity, and it was sold out, the show. And the curtain came up, and everybody, before I'd even said anything, people stood up to their feet and started clapping. And I remember the feeling in my heart at that time. I said to myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that point is what actually made me decide that I want to be an actor. I want to be a performer. If I haven't said anything and people have already stood up and they're clapping their hands, what more
Could I do
when we get into the story,
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so, the singer ran for 6 weeks, almost sold out every single night. And we became little young stars in our own capacity, myself and my friend Trey. My friend Trey was very academic. He was great. Didn't really follow through with the acting thing as much as I did. But between the ages of 13 and 16, I did a lot of dramas at school, did a couple of commercials.
Okay.
I'd always drag Trey with me because
trying to encourage
Trey also was the shortest kid at school.
Oh,
So, and I was quite tall.
compliment.
So, I always felt like I had this responsibility for him as a brother.
Oh,
So we had this relationship where wherever he went to, if anything didn't work out for him, I was always there for him. We're at, is it McCulloch and Bothwell, where we used to buy your uniforms in Zim, in Harare, just around the corner. First Street and another big road, I forgot what it's called. So we are there. I'm there with my older sister. He's there with his older sister. And so I'm looking at this little boy, and he's looking for a uniform for high school. So I'm totally cracking up. I'm laughing. My sister and I actually take a little giggle at him, like, this dude is going to Form 1, but look at him, And then our sisters start talking. So now he's still beefing with me. So he's still looking at me, and so I'm like, yeah, you the kid who was laughing at me and everything. And then I was like, yeah, whatever. And I'm still making fun of him,
Yeah.
But when we leave there, he's like, hi, my name is Taku. I gave him that name, Trey, actually. So he used to call himself TC, actually. I was like, bro, you need to drop this TC thing. It's very 80s. So, before we part ways from buying the uniform, he's like, yeah, I'm TC. I'm like, okay, I'm Leroy. Cool, later. We didn't even know we're buying a uniform for the same school.
Oh.
So when we get to Gateway High School, when we're being placed into classes, guess who's sitting next to me?
Oh.
TC.
AKA Trey.
You know what I mean? And so now, because he's the smallest guy, everybody's already making fun of him. I've already made fun of him. So now I'm like, yo, back off this is my brother, actually,
Nice.
And that's how our friendship started, actually. And to this date, we're still friends 35 years later.
Oh,
This is one of my closest friends. Yeah, shout out to Trey. If you see, and Trey is not that small anymore. He has bulked up. He is big. He's done self-defense training. He's got weapons training. He's now my bodyguard. when we go places, I'll be like, Trey.
The friendship paid off.
Yeah, the
Nice.
friendship paid off.
Nice.
So we remained friends throughout our lives. Even when we split during college, I think he came to South Africa before me, but we remained friends. We had fights over girls at some point, but we overcame that, and our friendship stood the test of time. So that's a real treasured friend. So I think throughout high school, did a lot of performances, and then I went through a phase in my life where people used to tease me and say to me, I'm ugly.
Okay.
And my older sister Claudia, was in the same school as me, and Claudia's drop dead gorgeous. to a point where my sister even sometimes would be like, don't talk to me at school. Like, if you see me at school, smile and wave. And keep it moving. Which is understandable, she won like, at high school, those days we used to have like Mr. and Miss Valentine's. My sister won it every year that she was at that school, for just being gorgeous and having beautiful hair. So when people found out I was her younger brother, they were like, there is no way. This guy is Claudia's brother.
Yeah.
So people made fun of me and they're like, this kid is ugly. You're too ugly to be Claudia's brother. So between acting and this teasing that was happening, I found sport. And sport became my great escape from people teasing me, saying that I was ugly. So I became such a great sportsman that the whole I'm so ugly faded away very quickly. I suddenly became go, Gopi, go. Because that's what people used to say when I was running. So I'd be like, go, Gopi, go. Go, and Gopi is shortcut for Gopal, right? My surname. So it'd be go, Gopi, go.
Nice.
So I, at some point, for a couple of years in high school, I actually thought I was going to be a professional athlete. In fact, I was willing to drop acting to become a professional athlete. I'd become really good at high jump. I'd become really good at short distance, like your 100 meter, 200 meter.
Oh, because you're also tall.
Yeah, long jump. I'd won like the Victor Ludorum, I think, 3 years consecutively at Gateway High School.
Nice.
And I then failed my O levels because I was really caught up with the sport.
Sorry, Lee. Do you think so? What was your main driver? Was it the guys teasing you there and say, I want to prove it to you that I can perform?
So I had a few things that really drove me when I was young. One of my main driving forces for me when I was young was I had this spirit in me of, if I can't do something and I've never done it before, I'm going to try it at least once and see how far I can get with it. That was one of the main driving forces for me as a young person. And I saw that in acting, because even when I went into Shona drama, you can hear by the way I speak my English. Yeah, and thanks, Mom.
Clearly.
Because, my mother just spoke differently, And when I got into drama, I didn't do English drama. So I never did your Shakespearean plays and English dramas. I went for the Shona drama because in the Shona drama was the real drama. That was like, amai wari kubiridzira baba.
Yes.
And vana vakuziva kuti baba vari kubiridzira amai. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, this is the real drama I want to be in. I want to be that kid that knows this, Yeah. So I always went for Shona drama, but because my Shona never always came out the way, very authentically. It was a challenge for me. So I was like, I'm going to get it right. So I took on the drama to get the real authentic Shona going. And that's what helped me speak Shona better. With the athletics, my pushing thing was, someone said to me, in fact, we didn't have high jump for a couple of years at our school. And then they introduced high jump. And I went and I sat and there were very few people who were doing high jump. And I thought to myself, I want to do high jump. And the person I admired then was Carl Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Carl Lewis, when he won his 5 medals for the Olympics, I forget what year it was, he actually had tried out high jump. It was the only discipline that he didn't get a gold medal in that year.
He was a sprinter, right?
Yeah, he was a sprinter and a track guy and long jump. So I thought to myself, I'm going to do this high jump thing. And lo and behold, I became really good at it.
Nice.
I set a record there that still stands now at Gateway High School. And then from that, Prince Edward Senior School then fished me from, I failed my O levels and then I repeated. And my friend Trey, bless your soul, my boy, Trey had passed, but he said, listen, I'm going to stay. I'm going to repeat my O's with you because I want to help you. And he said, and then he went and told his parents that, no, I just want straight A's. And that was his excuse. Because he had 3 A's and 2 B's. He could easily go do his A levels.
That's 5, right?
Yeah, that's 5.
That's 5.
I had 3 C's and 2 B's.
Oh.
This is for the first time or the second?
This is for the second time around. So no, this is the first time around.
Okay.
So I had 2 C's, 2 B's, and 1 D. So I didn't have 5 to make it.
Yes.
The second time I did well, I then got 3 C's and 2 B's. But at Gateway, it was not good enough for A levels. Then Prince Edward is like, come, my boy.
Yeah. Sports.
Come. We've seen what you've done to us on the track and on the field.
Yeah.
We'll nurture you, you know? Come this way. So Prince Edward took me on. I left my friend Trey. He went on to do his A levels. I went on to do my A levels at Prince Edward. At Prince Edward is where I honestly really thought to myself, this is where my sporting career would come, because now I had a personal coach, Mr. Gumunyu. Shout out to you, Gumsta. Mr. Gumunyu took me on.
Yeah.
He spoke such life in me. He gave me hell, I won't lie. He gave me such a tough time on the track and on the field, you know. But he shaped me into the athlete that I dreamt of being. And that's another point that I really want to say to any young person watching out there. It is so critical to have people who speak positively in your life. It is so important to have people who, even in a moment where people are looking at you as a repeater and a failure of O levels, someone is going, listen, even though you repeated, we see a talent in you that if you can give us a chance to nurture it, we can ignite a dream in you that maybe other people don't see. And surely at some point, my mother was thinking like, are you serious? Are you going to do this sports thing for real? And I was like, yes. And so when I went to Prince Edward, I flourished like at the click of a finger. After spending 6 weeks with Mr. Gumunyu, I coaching. I set another high jump record at Prince Edward in 1997.
Was this just only for athletics?
This was for athletics. This was for high jump. And it was a big thing if you broke the 2-meter barrier in high jump in high school. It was like, oh, you went over 2 meters. Yeah, you know, wow, that's amazing, you know? It was like a thing.
Yeah.
And so I did that in that first year. It became really, really great. And then I went on to do volleyball, and I was great at volleyball. I was on the South African tour team, with volleyball. So I'd really actually put the acting thing aside, and I was really focused on just sport. And then I got into basketball as well. And then after we closed school, Gumunyu says to me, he's like, listen, do you really want to leave a legacy in this school? I said, yes. He said, you know, there's no other young man that's ever come and started like just for high school and excelled in all the disciplines. You excelled in athletics, volleyball, basketball, swimming. Yeah, I think there was only 2 of us, 2 black guys on the water polo team. If I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected, but I think, and I was one of them. And so like you asked me, what was my driving force was, if there's no one to do this, I'll do it. And I remember even at a swimming gala, there's a time where I forgot what this race is called. It's actually where you start off butterfly, breaststroke, backstroke, and you fill it with that medley. And you're one man on that.
Yes.
And so everyone at this gala, we stood there, they were like, guys, we don't have a swimmer for this. I've never practiced this thing. I've never trained for this medley. I was like, I'll do it.
Okay.
And I remember the other kids looking at me and I'm like,
Trey wasn't there.
that is so true. I'm sure Trey's watching now going, oh, thank God.
Let's fight together.
Yeah, so I think the thing also about the way I grew up is I had this I'll do it kind of thing with me. Even at church, if it was prayer time, like, who's going to pray? I'll pray.
Yes.
You know, I was always ready for something. And I remember also in this discipline, I took on this medley and it was quite phenomenal. I didn't win, I came 5th, but just the fact that I managed to finish the race was phenomenal. And so Gumunyu said to me, he's like, listen, boy, just before schools open, I stay here at the school. Before schools open, come. I want to teach you how to run faster.
Okay.
I said, cool, no problem. So I went out, trained with Gumunyu. Even my mom, I think, is going to watch this for the first time, like, you did what? Because I didn't tell my mom, because I was like, athletics.
Yeah.
So I went, I trained really hard. I became really good at the relay. We won the relay for that year. I set a new record for high jump, which was 2.13 meters, which got me into the All Africa Games to participate in the All Africa Games. And then Gumunyu took another liking to me. He's like, boy, And this is how he spoke. Boy,
Yeah.
I think you'll do great if you are a wing in rugby.
Oh, another sport.
So I'm looking at and if you look at me, right?
Yes.
I'm not the kind of guy, if I tell you I used to play rugby, you look at me and you'll be like, yeah, for sure. You're going to be like, Leroy, my guy, yeah, come on. He says, boy, yeah. It's like, boy, you and that speed would be amazing on the wing, boy.
Wow.
I said, nah, no, Gumsta, I'm for it. And so I had quite an interesting chance because I became a prefect in that next year. And I was playing first team volleyball. So automatically, if you're a prefect and you're playing a first team, you become the captain for that. So I had a chance to be the captain of the first team volleyball. But I gave that up because I believed in what Gumunyu was saying about me, because I'd seen the effects of him believing in me and him, just pushing me. And for sure, guys, I went to rugby, and guess what? I worked my way from the fourth team all the way up to the Tigers team at Prince Edward to play in the World Schools Rugby Cup.
That's serious, eh?
And again, I want to reiterate for young people watching out there, whatever you put your mind to and whatever you believe in yourself, you don't have to also wait for people to tell you you can do it. I think for me, some of the things that I achieved when I was in high school and was young is because I told myself that I can do this. Then to back myself up, I put in the work. I would train. I would wake up early. I would run. I bulked up in an unusual way. There's a time I walked past the volleyball court and the guys were like, yo, Monya for hire. Because now I had bulked up, And I remember Nelson Mandela came to open this World Schools rugby tournament. And I think some of us didn't even know who Mandela was at that time. We were just like, the president from South Africa is here. There's a picture with the guys from the first team with Nelson Mandela. And when we look back now, years later, we're like, guys, we were standing with Nelson Mandela. So then 3 games in, I had a terrible accident, a terrible injury rather. Okay. So coming out of a scrum, a knee to the nose, and I broke my nose in 2 places. Now, the most tragic thing of this story is my mom never ever supported me. Of everything that I did, the one thing my mom did not like was rugby. That's the one thing she was like, I'm not coming to watch. I'm not buying you anything, nothing.
It's considered a rough sport.
Yeah. So my mom was like, I am not about this. I'm not for this sport. And so for a while, I played rugby with forward boots. So forward boots are high ankle boots. And if you're a back, you've got low ankle boots.
Oh, okay.
So for a while, I'd only been sponsored by somebody who gave me forward boots. So I was the only winger with forward boots because my mom was like, I'm going to buy you boots. Yeah, and she had the right. And guess what? The day where she actually when she's realized, okay, my son, you've actually made it in this rugby thing. Okay, I'm coming to watch, is the day I break my nose. So when I break my mom is literally, she's so excited now from the first 2 games. Because she's seen me now. She's like, oh, my son is bad news with this. Like, he's good.
Yeah. And people say, commenting.
Yeah, so people have been telling her, no, your son, is wow. So she gets the proper front row seat. She's there. She's like, yes, I'm here to watch this boy that everyone's been talking about, And literally 10 minutes into the game, I break my nose. So when I'm lying there and my nose is broken, my mom doesn't recognize me at first. So she's telling me the story whilst I'm at the hospital. So she's busy sitting there and she's looking, going, oh, shame, look at the amount of blood coming out of that boy's nose. Oh, she doesn't know it's me. So after a few minutes, she's looking around now going, where's this Lee guy now? Until one of the juniors came and said, ma'am, please come. You're Leroy's mom. Yes, please come this way. My mom got there. She was not like, my son, are you okay? She's like, I told you about this rugby thing of yours. Why don't I tell you about this sport? And she was right, So that ended my sporting career abruptly. And that was the end of my sporting career. If it were not for that break, I had lots of scouts looking at me from South Africa that were wanting to even move me to South Africa straight after school to study here so that I could be, they could draft me into like professional rugby. because I was really outstanding.
So all this time the acting was at the background.
The acting was on a back burner. Acting didn't exist. For my 2 years at Prince Edward, I didn't touch acting. I'd see people doing it, I'd be like, man, I miss that stuff. But, you know, when you're an athlete and a top athlete at Prince Edward, you were as good as a celebrity. You know, I had the cream blazer. I was a prefect. Girls' high school was next door.
And the way
Queen Elizabeth was on the other side. So you can imagine the fame that came with this. It was just, you know, and also when I'd look back at the school that I came from, I remember Gateway coming through and their rugby was not so good. They would play our fourth team. But I remember asking the coach saying, I know I play for the first team. Just put me back for the fourth team for now, just against that school, because the kids there that used to call me ugly, that I just want to show something. And I ran a truck of trials on Gateway High School in the first half. Then I was like, thanks guys, I'm going. I'm not going to finish this game. I was quite pompous.
I left my message.
Yeah, I left my message. But, you know, with that also, I also want to, like you said, you know, it's important to share nuggets. I also want to encourage, you know, somebody who's out there and say, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And a lot of people would look at me when I was in high school and thought I was very arrogant and I was full of myself. But I wasn't. I was one of the most confident young people that you'd meet at that time because I wanted to fight some of the stigmas that came with being who I was. I was too skinny. I was too dark. I was too ugly. I was all these things that people wanted to label me as, and I was fighting against those. And it required me to have a certain confidence bordering arrogance, if I can put it that way. And it's necessary. The way you carry yourself, the way you walk, chin up, chest out, is critical and it's important. And even if you're going through a hard time or a tough time, you don't always have to look like your problems. You know, you always have got to take on the day as though you've won the day already, because that's what will see you through the day.
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional,
And so after breaking my nose, I started focusing on what I'm doing after school. And I wanted to be a psychologist. And my mom said, America it is, you know, send you to America, you're going to study psychology. But to go to America, I needed to write SATs, maths and English. Maths is back. Maths is back. I didn't do well for my A-levels, by the way. Actually, I only passed one subject.
So I wanted to ask that. I had two questions that I wanted to ask you. I've noticed, like, also what's important through your journey, the people around you. I see you've got a very solid family background of people. Some are beautiful, and they did support you. Your mom was there, like in the early stages, even though she was building something in you by exposing you to the Christian background. You know, a lot of days, you know, at church and stuff. There's a point in time when now you're going to Prince Edward. Prince Edward, from what you're saying, it seems like you're going there for it because if they welcomed you with both hands, they're saying there's something in you. But that was sport. How did your mom relate? Because most moms, like the challenge that we have, they only think of education. And by that time, I think it was just accountants, lawyers, and stuff. But you and doctors, and now you going for sport.
One thing I really admire my mom about was she was very liberal in going, whatever choices that you make for yourself, please know you've made this choice for yourself and you're going to lie in that bed. So whatever choice you make, know you are making that choice and it's your choice.
Take ownership.
I will back you up as your mom as much as I can and up to where I'm willing to back you up. But it's your choice. And so when she said that to me, I said, oh, thank you, Mom. I'm going to choose the sport thing. And that's where I'm going. And she supported me up to a point where she believed. And when it became rugby, she was like, here you are testing me now as a mother. I'm not backing you up. I'm not buying you boots. I'm not about this sport. And so I understood also because, I mean, there's boys who were coming with broken collarbones. Others ended up in wheelchairs. And my mom, her concern was, I don't want that for my son. But the moment she saw how much I believed in myself and what a difference it made in my life and how much I loved the sport, I think that's what really gave a turning point for her and how she sees it. But I appreciate my mom for giving me the power of choice because that's what she did for me as a young man. She said to me, I may not like this sport thing, but it's your choice. You choose. Is this what you're choosing? And I say yes. She say, okay, cool. I'm going to support you as much as I can as your mom. So I think that's what really, and I think to this date, even when I call my mom and I ask for advice and we speak, at the end of it, the one thing she always says, so wazofunge.
Yeah.
So nakujaseko mwanangu is actually one of the lines. She's, oh, what are you going to do, my child? That's one thing she always says to me.
Gives it back to you.
And she gives it back to me. She never, there's very few times I can remember speaking to my mom where she goes, I think this is what you should do. She'd always give you advice and just choices to go.
Yeah.
Here's apple, here's pears.
Yes.
You decide what kind of juice you want to make.
Yeah. I think that's actually quite important. Because when you've got a backing, because look, you're struggling, you're trying to understand how life is, even though you've got a birth certificate. But you're still figuring it out and seeing how things are. And I picked up Roger as well. Is an influential guy in your space, and motivating and mentoring you, and helping you shape the different direction. Because I believe, like when you're young, try out quite a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And then you come back to your passion as well.
You're absolutely correct. I've got a host of people that really played some amazing roles in my life, and this takes us to the next part of my life where now I have to write SATs and I'm writing them at Prince Edward. This is post A-level results have come out. I haven't done well. I've only passed English literature. And only because I was taught by Miss Duplessis, may her soul rest in peace. Miss Duplessis also was very passionate toward me as a person. She always used to say to me, Mr. Gopal, it is imperative that you read these books. Because I had this thing where I'd read the beginning, the middle, and the end. I never read the whole book.
Power strategy.
You know what I mean? And so Miss Duplessis started seeing in the way that I was writing my answers with, this guy, he's not reading the whole book. It's a half act here, And so she then started actually saying, I'm going to make it fun for you, young man. So what we will do is, when everybody else is gone, I will read the book with you and we'll do it in a very dramatic way. Wow. And so Miss Duplessis would read it and she would make it so interesting. It was myself and another guy called Kudema Tsinde and Gift Ngwenya, who's now a big auctioneer as well here in South Africa. And we would stay behind and Miss Duplessis would read to us. And we'd be so engrossed in these stories. And we'd leave there talking about him like, so this is what happened in this and this and this, Oh. So that's how I actually passed literature. Nice. So when I go write SATs, the first time I go write, I flunk because maths is not my friend. So I flunk, and then also American English is just different. And then I study the American English. I study the American mathematics. I'm now going to write my SATs for a second time. When I go write my SATs, there's two signs. SATs, yellow card auditions. So when I arrive, feature film, yellow card auditions. I'm like, wow, acting is back.
Okay.
I'm like, this could be interesting. Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to ditch the SATs and go straight for acting. Okay. So I go to the auditions. I'm number 2071. So I'm like, there's 2071 people auditioning to be Tiani. Okay. So I go see the guys who are auditioning. I'm like, listen, I need to go write my SATs and I'll come audition. I'm like, cool, no problem. I'm sure by the time you finish, we won't be by your number, Yes. I said, sharp, cool, no problem. But God is amazing. I go write my SATs. In the back of my mind, I'm just thinking of this yellow card film. I'm wondering what it's about. What is this film? What's going on? How deep is this film? Can I still act? So I finish. When I get there, there's literally 2 people to go before me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just in time. So I get the script, and I'm really good with learning lines. So I learn my lines. It's a lovely scene, and I'm excited now. I'm pacing. I'm like, yeah, this. I suddenly found myself back in a world that I hadn't been in for like 2 years. And then I come in. I go through for my audition. Oh my gosh, John Reba, the director of Yellow Card, American. He watches. He's like, "You're really good. I like you. How did you get the surname Gopal?" So I explained my story of how my grandmother's Indian, so my family's mixed. We are half Shona, half Indian. He grew up in India, so now he's teaching me and going, listen, so Gopal is of royal line in India. And now he's giving me a history on my surname, this American guy in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
So now I'm sitting in this audition and he's going on and I'm wondering like, did I get the role? Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. It's like, thanks for the Indian history, but yo, dude, what's happening? So then he says, what are you doing for the rest of the day? I said, nothing. He's like, can you stay and just be Tiani and just read with the other guys and stuff and, do this thing? I said, cool, no problem. So I'm staying there and I'm watching other people coming to audition for the very same audition role that I read for, but I'm also reading for the other role for Skido, which was played by John Banda. May his soul rest in peace. John Banda is his character name from Gringo, actually. And I'm reading for that role and other people. Then I now realize, Tiani's the lead. Because I didn't know this at first. So after I've been reading for a while, I'm like, Tiani's the big guy. Okay. So this John Banda character, this other character of Skido is actually the support. Okay. I'm like, I don't want to be a support. I want to be the lead. Yeah. I want to be the main steering. I want to be the guy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think I do about 2 or 3 hours. Then eventually I'm like, listen, I got to go. I didn't really have to go, but I was just trying to pull the fast one on John now. Oh, okay. Then he's like, well, don't go, because my wife Louise is coming and I wanted to meet you and I think you'll be great. I'm like, cool. I sit there, another hour goes by. Louise comes through. Let me see this Leroy kid that you were going on about. Okay. I'm like, okay, cool. I kill it. Yeah. Like, he's wonderful, I told you. He's amazing. So now paying attention to how they were reacting to everyone else, I don't remember them saying all these big words about the other actors. Yeah. The other guys were like, okay, he's good. He's got potential. But for me, he's amazing. He's wonderful. Yeah. It's great. So that stayed with me. Yeah. Then they were like, we'll call you back should anything happen. So I'm like, so I leave not knowing whether I got the role or not. And this thing stayed with me. This was the only thing on my mind. For 2 weeks, I don't hear from these guys. I'm not even concerned about my SATs. My mother's been asking, boy, SAT results come out in 6 days. Yeah. Go get you. I'm like, nah, they're not out, man. I don't even want to know because I'm thinking these SATs are just going to,
they're going to change the direction. Yeah.
They're going to change and I've been thinking if I pass, it means so already I've been accepted somewhere for college to go study psychology. Before they've even seen the SATs, but I applied so you could apply using your if you write like an essay, describing yourself and talking about the things you've done in your high school life and everything. And I'd applied to Michigan. I forgot, but it's gray and maroon. I think it's Michigan University. I think, but they were a big sporting university, so they were very impressed with my history. So already they were like, thumbs up. Yeah. We want this guy. And before Yellow Card and before that, I was seeing football in my mind. I was thinking, I'm going to go play American football. And I think I'm going to be great. Okay. So that's what was hyping me up for America.
I like the option.
Yeah, I was like, nah, psychology will most probably be a side thing, but the thing I'm going for, I want to be a football star. Oh, interesting. Eventually, we hear from John Reba. No, come through. We want to meet you at the MFD offices. I said, cool, no problem. They call me in. John comes in. He's like, hey, Tiani, you are the Tiani, hey?
Oh, really?
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But he hasn't told me. He hasn't made it official.
Exactly.
You know?
No, yeah.
It's like, cool. So I'm going to introduce you. So he's introducing me to people. Guys, this is Tiani. Everyone's like, hey, Tiani. I'm like, okay. What's up, everybody? I'm Tiani. You know, is anybody going to make it official? Because I don't want to get too excited. You know what I mean? Then he says, yeah, Leroy, so, we're looking for Juliet. We've got everybody else. The only person we don't have is Juliet, And we've been to South Africa. We've been all over the world looking for this girl. And we can't find her. And we think, like, if we have you here, you've got this thing of bringing out people. And we think you're going to bring out great chemistry in our people today. So you're reading for Tiani and you're auditioning. All the Juliets coming through. Cool. So I spent a whole day kissing girls, guys. Yeah. Literally. I kid you not. I was like, I could do this for 11. You know what I mean? So, and these were gorgeous girls. And because Juliet's character needed to be colored. So there were all these beautiful, and I'd never kissed a colored girl until those auditions. Wow. I kissed more colored girls than I've kissed in my whole entire life.
You should have sent the scripts to the guys that were saying,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, look at me now. And so in came the lady who then got cast as Juliet, Kasamba Mkumba. Okay. Great actress, and we had such an awesome working relationship. And when she came in, was this scene where we kissed at Juliet's school. Yeah. So I knew Kasamba now from Prince Edward days because she went to Dominican convent. Oh. And if anybody knows Dominican convent girls from 96 to 99, whew. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. So Kasamba was one of those girls who everyone would be like, wow. Yeah. She could literally walk in front of the stands and guys would be like, baby benga. She could just get a standing ovation for being good looking. So I knew this girl and I never in a million years did I think to myself, I would ever talk to this girl because she was like, there's Kasamba, I'm just the sports dude. Yes. That's it. I never, ever thought to myself that I would even have a chance to Kasamba in my face. Mm-hmm. And so there she was. And now John is like, so Leroy, bring on the heat, buddy. Okay. So I'm looking. I'm like, John, do you have any idea who this is? Do you know who this girl is? John's like, who's this girl? I'm like, this is Kasamba. He's like, you know her? I'm like, yeah, she's famous, but not famous, but but we know people know her. Yeah. He's like, well, Leroy, you better bring on your A game. Yeah. I'm like, cool, no problem. For sure. Me and Kasamba, we kissed. After the first take, John is like, we got it. We got Tiani and Juliet. I'm like, what? Say that again. Only at the end of the day, John Reba says to me, congratulations, man. You are officially the lead actor of Yellow Card. Wow. I'm like, all right, cool. Woo! Right? But even then, I didn't know how big this film was. Yeah. I thought to myself, and I'd done films before, I'd done short films before that as well that I did just here and there. And I thought to myself, it's most probably one of those. Mm. And, when as we started to prepare for Yellow Card, I realized how big a film it was. We had Sandy Sissel flown in from LA, who was a big time cinematographer. All this big equipment was arriving, all these big containers with lights and all kinds of things were arriving, Yeah. I think a month into shooting did I then realize that I'm going to be the next biggest superstar to come out of Zimbabwe. Yeah. The marketing started to kick in, the poster ideas started to come out, and everybody started whispering to me now to say, Leroy, do you have an idea what's happening? Do you know what's going to happen to your life? And I'm like, nope. I have no idea what y'all talking about.
I'm okay. I'm still like, Leroy.
When the SATs came and...
Did you take the SATs?
I never went to go get my SATs. I was a movie star. You think I was concerned about the SATs? I was like, I'm going to be a movie star. That's all. That's all. I was like, I'm going to be a big movie star. Because everyone was telling me this now. Everyone was starting to say to me, do you have any idea that you're going to be such a big influence and such a big idea in the film industry? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I get it,
Yeah.
And then Sandy Sissel, coming out of LA, she's like, Leroy, I've worked with a lot of male actors, and none of them really come out the way you do. You make it worth flying my lenses all the way from LA, Leroy.
Nice.
Yeah. And again, like you were saying, I think God blessed me with people who really injected the right things in my life at the right time. Sandy Sissel taught me everything I know about lighting today. As an actor, I've been on sets where sometimes I whisper because I don't want to be rude. Sometimes I'm like, I think that light is not in the right place. Or I'll try and put it in a way where, and sometimes people look at me and they go, what do you actors know about lighting? But Sandy Sissel changed my life. Every time she was setting up lights, I'd stand with her and she'd be like, Leroy, this is why you need this light here. This is why we diffusing this light. And back then, before they had the Blu-ray and the electronic measures of light, she would make me hold the measuring tape from one side and she would walk it back and said, I need to know the distance between you and the lens so that I can adjust it accordingly. She's the one who put a light, I forgot what it's called, that one of the little ball on it. I forgot what it's called. It's a light meter, actually. Yes, a light meter. She taught me about that. Hold it to your face. There mustn't be shadows here. And she taught me so many things. She taught me how to kiss for screen. And she said, I know you're young and your blood is rushing, but this is not just about enjoying yourself. I need you to get the right angles,
Yeah, that's good.
And so she would, I think I've even got I must check in my archives. I think I've got a video of her where she's actually holding my head and holding Kasamba's head and saying, I need you guys to kiss in this angle and showing us where the light is coming from. And so Yellow Card came out, a year later. In the year 2000, I became a big superstar. The whole of Zimbabwe was talking about it. I went on a world tour with Yellow Card. I traveled to over 52 countries with Yellow Card. And those were the best days of my life.
Nice.
I was being paid to travel.
Look at me now.
Look at me now. Those of you who said I was ugly. Me and my ugly self.
I just want to comment. There's something that I picked up from your story as well, like passion. Passion is the one that drives you. And yes, you might say also you got that support from the different people, from Rogers, from the sports guy, but one thing I picked up on most of these things, these events, you were not waiting to be invited to the table of success.
No, sir.
You were saying, if Trey is not there, I'll go along. It's fine. Yeah. Which is something that's really important. I guess most people they're scared, even if they don't know. The medley you went, you were 5, but because you finished, you ticked your box.
Yeah.
And it pushed you to get on to something else.
Yeah.
Even SAT and stuff. I could picture you. Spiff and Hercules, the red and the white.
Like that.
Which one? Do I go white or do I go red?
Yeah, I like that.
But it was a big milestone for you. And from there you said, I'm going there. I don't know, but I'm going there. And it started sparking like a lot of energy. And people could see it. Yeah. Although you seemed like you had another blocker for yourself and saying, hey, this girl, hey, am I in this league? But still you overcame it because also of the support you got with the team.
That's absolutely true. I think passion to this date is one of the biggest drivers in my life. Even from a relationship point of view, I think the people that I've had relationships with, whether it be platonic or romantic ones, will tell you that I love dearly and I love passionately. And I think, one thing I really admire about passion is that passion is like a flame that you can never blow out. So regardless of how rainy it gets, how muddy it gets, how low you may go, that passion in you must never die. You must never let that flame of passion go out, because that flame of passion has got the ability to light so many other things in your way that will help you to see and will make brighter the way or the direction that you want to go in. You know, and you're absolutely right about that. I'm very much driven by passion, and even people that are around me, I speak very passionately in the way I talk to people. I've got a team that works for me. That when I'm around that team, you know, if somebody's having a bad day, they'll come to me and go, "They call me Daddy G." Like, "Daddy G, thanks, man. You know, I feel alive now." You know, and if I'm having a bad day and they see me, they ignite me and they go, "The way you walked in today is not you.
This is not the positive agent of change that
you
we
know
know."
what I mean? So I think passion is amazing like that, because even when you're down, people that you've lit are able to ignite you. Just because they've seen the passion burn in you and they've seen what it's like in how you exercise your passion. You know, so in those times, I really lived such an interesting and amazing life. It's sometimes when I look back at it, if it were not for pictures, I don't think people would believe. My children wouldn't believe me. You know, when I tell them, I'm like, "Listen, check who I was with in New York. I was with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon."
52 countries, bro.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
I remember being at the Cannes Film Festival, nominated for Best Actor in an international film. I'm sitting at a table with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Wow.
They're nominated for Good Will Hunting, their first film. And these guys actually are hyping me up. They're going, "Listen, man, Leroy, you're going to be great, buddy. You must move to New York." They're like, "Yeah, man, forget Africa. Go to New York."
Come to
You know? And so, you know, I tour around the world with Yellow Card and amazing places. Some were horrible, some were difficult. You know, it was amazing when we went to Malawi with a truck and projected on a truck in some of the most remote places, and I'm speaking Swahili. You know, Yellow Card was dubbed in over 200 languages. So we really, like, the marketing team was amazing. Distribution for Yellow Card was phenomenal. And I think from a business point of view, I was not wise there, because I really should have, you know, done some royalties, or for every DVD or every poster with my face on it should have been $1. And to this date, I'll still be getting paid. You know, so I think there's also some mistakes I made as a young actor from a business point of view that I didn't know. And I remember my mom was trying to fight this for a while, because my mom was an agent for a very little while. And I got a big head. I was like, "Don't worry, I got it." And my mom, being the mom, she was like, "Okay, it's your choice." You know? And so I messed it up a bit. It wasn't all great going from there. So I listened to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and went to New York. And I thought to myself, "No, man, I'm going to do great." So I spent a couple of months in New York. And I went to auditions holding my DVD thinking, I'm the biggest superstar out of Africa. I'm going to get a job anytime now. And it's very expensive to live in New York. And remember, when I arrived in New York, I arrived as a superstar. So I'm cruising in stretch hammers, got limos, I'm attending rooftop parties. I've got, you know, black suits with me, because I'm the African superstar. But that only came for as long as the movie was there. And so when the movie left, it left with all those perks. I just became another African in New York. and New York is very ruthless. You know, New York is like Joburg times 10. You understand? It's like Joburg on steroids. Nobody gives a damn about who you are, and life goes on. And if you don't know what you're doing, it'll chew you, eat you up, spit you out, and send you back where you came from. You know? And that's what happened to me. And I tried, and I was spending money recklessly, because I absolutely thought to myself, I'm going to make it. I thought I was going to be the next big superstar, because everywhere I went to, that's what people were feeding me. You know, so in as much as people, it's great for people to speak to you and speak life in you, it's also important to pay attention to the hype. The difference between good advice and hype. So I think I went through a period in my life where people were hyping me up, and I was living on the high of the hype and not the reality of where I was.
Emotional.
Yeah. You know, so I was really high on this hype of everywhere I went to. I mean, I had come from Zanzibar, I'd won Best Actor for the Dore Film Festival, Cannes Film Festival, I'm nominated. Zim, I've won Best Actor. New York, I've got these nominations. France, I've got nominated. All over the place. It's like, you kid, you know. Ha, New York showed me and humbled me. I spent money that I didn't have. I had a friend there whose father owned the Red Sox. And he was like, oh, stay, man, you know. But you can't really stay for too long. As welcome as that is, at some point, someone's like, how many hours is it back to Africa, buddy?
Are you gonna take a bus?
Yeah. Cousins are coming over, and we only have 2 rooms.
Yeah.
So I came back home, and my mom, as loving as she was, said, "Son, you've done great. You did great. You did awesome.
Nice.
You've got 3 months in this house. Sort your life out."
Okay.
So reality was now in.
Kicking in.
And so when I'd come to Joburg, also I'd met a guy called Garth Holmes. And Garth Holmes then said to me, boy, come study at AFTA. You know, it's the same guy I was telling you about earlier on who gave me scholarships.
Oh, yes.
So Garth Holmes then said to me, you must come study. You know, he had met me just in my travels.
Okay.
He's like, you got to come to South Africa and come study.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I left home
Mm.
as I was a big superstar.
Mm.
But I had 20,000 rands left from all these big monies that I'd been paid because I was spending money recklessly. Mom says, I'm only going to help you so far with your schooling and then you need to pick it up.
How old are you?
I was 21.
21. Oh, okay. Okay.
I've moved to South Africa. I'm 21. And when I moved to South Africa, I'm living right in the heart of the center with my entourage. I'm living in town, 2 streets away from Bree.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Interesting space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey. So anyway, I spent a year trying to adjust to South Africa. It was really difficult. I experienced xenophobia on a level that people don't experience xenophobia because it wasn't something I was spoken about then, like it is now. I would experience a point where cops would pick me up and go, "Kwere, kwere."
Oh.
And then they'd go, what's this in Zulu? What's a collarbone in Zulu?
Yeah.
Yeah, get in the bag. You know, it was bad. But then I learned Zulu. I learned how to speak Zulu. But towards the end of my first year, I became friends with a guy called Fox, who was a security guard at Look and Listen.
Okay.
And Look and Listen was a bookstore. But remember, it also shared... no, actually, he was a security guard at Musica. But Musica and Look and Listen shared a back.
Oh.
So you could cross from Musica into Look and Listen, and you could go from Look and Listen into Musica. And in Musica, you could listen to any music you want in the store. You could literally open a disc,
Okay.
pop it in, sit there, listen to the whole disc,
Oh.
pop it out, put it in another disc, and listen to it. Same thing at Look and Listen. You could sit there, read books all day long, and leave the book there. I think you can actually still do that at Look and Listen.
So when all of this was happening, were people recognizing
They were laughing at me.
yellow card guy?
They'd go, yellow card. I'm like, yeah, how's it? So I then became a waiter to support my studies and to start afresh in South Africa. And boy, did people laugh at me. If I thought people laughed at me in high school going, you're ugly, that was not it.
Another season.
That was another season because now I'm 21. I'm quite all right with myself. But I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I was here to study. I knew that I'm here to get a degree. I'm here to do some things in my life. And so when people laughed, I'm like, no time big guys. You know, I didn't have to explain myself to say what happened. Why am I a waiter?
Yeah.
You know, it got me good tips from the Zimbos, which was great because I'm like, you can't be a waiter. You're a superstar. I'm like, sure, man.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Yeah, right. So I was a waiter for a while, but being the person I am, not wanting to just stay in one place, I went from being a waiter to a club promoter.
Okay.
Dino Bravo, my brother, came from the Congo. Sorry, I skipped something very critical. Why I told you about Look and Listen and Musica. I became friends with a guy who was a security guard. His name is Fox. He was one of my best friends for a while. He was my best man at my wedding. Fox was a security guard at Musica, and his English was horrendous. It was like terrible.
Okay.
You know, like the bus, the school, the come, the go kind of English. You understand?
Okay.
It wasn't really good.
Yeah.
And I had great English. My
Okay.
Zulu was bad.
Yeah.
And so,
Thanks to the literature lady.
yeah, thanks to Miss Duplessis.
Yeah.
And so I became the Duplessis in Fox's life.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
we really started having this relationship where I was, going with the English, and he taught me Zulu, taught me the hood, taught me Soweto, he taught me how to be street smart, and so a year into our friendship, I was really, you didn't know, like Mzimbere on Tumsasco.
Oh, okay.
I was proper, I was rocking the Zulu.
Nice.
Thanks to my friend Fox,
Yeah.
and I remember even the first time I told him about yellow card, he's like, you're lying, this is not you. For a while, he was like, it's not you.
Oh, really?
Until we went somewhere, and people were like, yellow card. I was like, I told you, nigga, that's me. Told you, man, I'm yellow card, bro. So, from being a waiter, went into club promotions. We pushed Dino Bravo a lot. And we would, we did some of the most outrageous things. We'd print flyers, go to like the University of Johannesburg, and we'd be like, yo, guys, there's a hot new DJ, international DJ, come through, and because Fox went from Musica to working for a voter shop.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I told his story also is Fox couldn't afford to take himself to school, but he was self-taught in IT.
Wow.
So he'd sit there as a security guard for Musica and get books from Look and Listen, and would sit there and read books on IT the whole time. And then he applied a job at a voter shop, and then got a job now selling phones at the voter shop. And then he was still going because he had a good relationship with the guys at Look and Listen. He'd go get books from them and read, and he expanded his education. Self-taught guy in IT, got into computers, software. Fast forward a couple of years later, Fox owned call centers around the country.
Wow.
Like flourishing. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And this was one of my best friends, to a point where I think he even cut me off as a friend because he was like, there's a path I want to take in my life and I don't think I can take you with. And we can't carry on being friends. To this date, he is actually a pastor. And because we went out a lot, the chicks was together, drinking was together. And he says, I need to drastically change my life. And he did it. And this was before my wedding, but he did eventually come back to be my best man because I felt like no one knew me and the history of myself and my wife like this guy,
In those seasons.
Yeah, so we really pushed club promotions, myself and Fox, and Dino Bravo was our go-to guy, and he was and is still a great DJ. And we would, go to club owners and be like, listen, give us $1,000, we'll promote the club for you. Okay. And because Fox worked for, at the IT guy, like, I know how to get all these things printed for free.
Yeah.
So all this money they were giving us to print flyers, we'd pack it for ourselves, We'd pay Dino Bravo and then we'd put on the site for ourselves. And so I managed a couple of clubs at some point. And then when I was in third year, I really had to stop all of that because I was taking on quite a lot. My dean said to me, listen, don't study these subjects at the same time because you're going to fail. But I didn't. I passed. Graduated.
Nice.
Cum laude. Both for third year and fourth year.
Yeah.
And those years were also very interesting in my life because I was quite a focused young man. I was very passionate, like you said, And so in fourth year, to make extra money, there's a lady called Gina from Megos Media. Gina saw me on stage and she's like, listen, I got a job for you. Don't you want to learn how to be a promotion jockey? Basically to be an MC, basically like a live disc jockey on a casino floor.
Okay.
And that's how I learned how to MC. So I've been an MC now for 25 years.
Wow.
For 20 years, actually, I've been MCing. Thanks to Gina. She gave me that job. And I started MCing in the casinos. I've MC'd in almost every casino in South Africa. And MC'd so many events. And I was trained by a guy called Pedro Megos. Again, Pedro Megos took me under his arm. He gave me a job that only he had been doing for years and was called the Black Diamond Blackjack Tournament, which is an international tournament that was held in Sun City, and only he'd ever hosted it in South Africa. And he took me on a Thursday He showed it to me and he said, "This is what you're doing this weekend." I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah, you." I said, "You know, there are other promotion jockeys in the company." Then he says to me, "Do you want to be the best or you don't?" I said, "I want to be the best." And surely he gave me the mic and I rocked. I left with friends. Let's just say I left with friends.
Nice.
You know, but that's a little bit ahead of time of where I am in the story. But I love Pedro Megas dearly. He's like a dad to me. And he taught me so many things, from relationships to money to work and just taking care of yourself. Dress. I think he gave me this waistcoat that I'm wearing now, actually. True story. I got this from Pedro Megas. And this watch. True story.
Nice.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
And then, so when I met Gina, she gave me that job. And then at the end of my 4th year, Dion Opperman, who was a performance coach at AFTA first year, had left the school and went on to open a production company. So he came to watch my graduation play in 4th year. And my graduation play in 4th year was so difficult that my fellow students did not want to direct it. It was directed by my performance coach, Vilmin Rousseau. I love you, ma'am. Thank you so much. That woman taught me acting on another level. And so Vilmin Rousseau directed my play and I did well. And at the end of that play, Dion Opperman came to me and said, "Don't look for a job next year. We're writing you into Backstage." And I said, "Thank you." But I thought he was just joking.
Yeah.
Because I was used to people going, "You're great."
Yes.
So I took everything with a pinch of salt.
Yes, now the
So
hype.
I remember the following year, 2005, I was sitting on a crate. I was drinking a quart of black juice.
Yeah.
And I got a call. And they're like, "Yo, you're supposed to have come for your wardrobe and to collect your scripts." I'm like, "For where?"
Yeah.
They're like, "For Backstage. Dion Opperman spoke to you." I stood up. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you need to come to the studio now." I was tipsy that day.
Yeah.
I go to the studio. I don't smell so fresh.
Yeah.
I don't look the part. And I was just like, I'm just here to collect my scripts and everything and go. So they're like, no, that's not how it works. You need to go to wardrobe. They need to take your measurements. Then you need to go to makeup. They need to do a test on you. Then you need to go see the producer so that you get your login details. Oh my gosh. I was like, is it possible I can come back another day? And they're like, no.
You thought it was just to walk in and
Yeah, I thought
grab
I'm
it.
picking up and going, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, you know what? Can you give me 10 minutes? I'll be back like in 10 minutes. Like, cool, no problem. So I remember going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm splashing cold water myself. I'm
Yeah.
drinking the cold water. I'm trying to sober up, you know? I'm trying to get myself in the right state of mind. And I do eventually, you know?
Okay.
So eventually I'm like, okay, I'm going to perform myself out of this situation. So eventually I come out of there, I'm like, yeah, awesome, cool, I'm ready, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
two-stepping, I'm going through this. I meet the executive producer at that time is Clive Morris. But God bless his soul, Clive Morris is such a beautiful soul. He's such a great guy, you know. Hey, Leroy, how you doing? He's like, oh, they caught you on a Saturday. That's not a Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause he can smell the booze.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, yeah, Clive. He's like, oh, don't worry, buddy. As long as you got your stuff and everything.
Yes.
And just then, Chichi Letswalo came. She was acting as my girlfriend on the show. And Clive was like, listen, this is your girlfriend. And Chichi's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you, babes. You know, she's a very flamboyant, lovely person. And so my career in South Africa took off from then. 2 weeks later, I was on billboards. I was in newspapers.
Oh,
I was back.
new season.
New season, you know,
season,
and
rolling.
I was the new kid on the block. And
Nice.
for a couple of years, you know, I rolled with Backstage. It set me on the map. I had great deals. I could walk into any guest store and get any clothes. I was dating my co-star at that time. We seemed as though we were like this invincible couple, but it was such a toxic in its own way.
Okay.
But at that time,
Yeah.
to be honest, it was nice. It was dope because she also taught me some things. I think one thing I appreciate about people that were in my life,
Yeah.
even if the relationship ended or there was something that's a bit offish about it,
Yeah.
there's some really great things I took away from that.
Yeah.
You know, that relationship taught me how to carry myself as a celebrity in SA and as a public figure. You know, because she'd been in it for a long time. So she really knew how to manage the noise. Because for a while, I was not managing it well.
No.
I got famous at the time where Shwashui was a big thing. So every Sunday I was in the papers. Gopal's in here. Gopal's doing this. Gopal's here. And it was just poor management from my side. So eventually now I started to know how to play this journalist now. You know, so I learned that from her, and which was good. And so my career took off then. I've had some really amazing highs in South Africa. I've had some terrible lows of roles that I did, and people were like, we never want to work with Leroy again. And for 2 years, you know, I just couldn't get any work. But thanks to Pedro, because I had learned how to MC, that was what I was doing.
So that's another talent
Exactly.
that you unlocked
Yeah.
as well.
And in 2010, 2012, I started my own production company called Creation Station Entertainment. Because between 2010 and 2012, nobody wanted to work with me. At that time, people were really pushing the story of going, if you're in South Africa, we only want to work with South African actors. It was before the movement is the movement the way it is now, which I say that in a fair way because yes, sure, that's correct, but there's a proper way of doing it, which I think now we are doing it that proper way. But back then, it was rough. So you could go to a casting and people would just tell you, we think you're too dark for the character. We think you're too this for the character, or your English is not right for the character. And I'd listen to myself and go, what do you mean? Have you listened to me speak? Those If there's one thing I can back myself up with, it's my English. There's no way you're telling me you're not going to give me a role because of my English. So 2012, I started Creation Station Entertainment with the dream of really becoming a director and creating my own content, because I felt like if you don't want to cast me, then I might as well just create my own work. You know, but something miraculous happened to me that year as well in 2012. My wife, Keleto, Mandla N, had written Ses Topla, and he had written a Nigerian character. And because when we were in school with a guy called Ate. Ate was from Nigeria, and he had a very heavy Nigerian accent. So we actually used to mock Ate. Every time we saw him, like, brother, what are you doing here? Kedu? Odemba? Oga, come here and sit here with me. I want to show you something. You know? So we would have this banter with Ate. And at first, you know, he was offended. And then eventually he realized, he actually took it as like, I've got brothers, actually. So even our friends, you know, like Thomas Gumede, Matli Mahapelwa, Mtunzin Toy, all those guys, when you see us, we still speak in this Nigerian accent because we got that from college. And so when Mandla wrote this thing, he thought, Leroy, I've written you into this show and I need you to bring that Nigerian accent. I was like, brother, you don't have to ask. I am coming now.
You're already
Don't worry about nothing. Yes. I am coming now. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, listen, this is said, signed, and delivered. Because there's nobody who can do that Nigerian accent the way I'm doing it. And I look Nigerian. And I've got, you know, everything is going for me. So I'm like, this is dope. Right? So we go, cast. Manda's like, yes. Everybody says yes. Channel says no. We don't want Leroy on this thing. Then Mandla's like, but he's a Zimbabwean, but the character's Nigerian. So they're like, no, find a South African who can do this character as a Nigerian. This is on a Friday, right? Saturday, Sunday, my wife is praying. She's like, no, this is your role, and I'm going to pray for this role. I'm like, yo, baby, listen, let it go. This is how the industry works, how it goes. I've actually I've moved away from it. I've let it go immediately. My wife is not budging. Kelly was like, I'm praying. I'm going to be praying. Monday, they shoot. My wife is still praying on the Monday. I think she finishes praying on Monday, midday. She's done praying. Monday night, they call me and they say, Leroy, you're shooting tomorrow. We're going to send you all the scripts. You're going to be shooting the whole day because the guy we shot with actually is not cutting it. And we can't afford to find another person because we've already lost a day. Can you please come and take on this role? I said, I'm coming, don't worry. I'm coming, don't worry.
ready.
Oga Leroy is going to be there. I'm coming and I'm going to kill it. And trust and believe me, I went and I killed it.
Nice.
And so I told that part of my career because from that role, I won a SAFTA for Best Actor in a comedy. And I'd never done comedy before. That was my first time doing comedy as well. So regardless of what the naysayers may say about you, they may tell you you're not good enough, you're too black, you sound funny, you're too fat, you're whatever it may be. The first point of reference is what you believe in yourself. First point of reference is, I always believe that people must ask themselves, can I do this? The moment you tell yourself, yes, you can, then nothing else, everything else will fall into place. That's and one thing that showed me as well is that there's nothing that God has designed for you that anyone can take away from you. Man, critics, whoever can say no. But if it's what God wants for you, nothing will stop that plan. And it's important, whether as a young person or as an old person, it's important to be well grounded in some sort of faith. I'm a Christian, and that's my faith. You can be Muslim, and that's your faith. Even as a Christian, I admire Muslim people because they're so disciplined. I wish as a Christian I could be as disciplined as a Muslim person. Because come Friday, I've gone to pray. You are not going to find me, my friend. You can come back after 2. Between 12 and 2, I'm praying. Please don't come. Come after 2 is closed. Because that's a discipline, But us Christians, we can bunk church on a Sunday. Be like, I'll go next. Because Pastor, I'll see you in 2 weeks. So it's good to be grounded in some sort of faith, And so my career has been really quite amazing in my time here in South Africa. In those years, I've also had kids. I've got a 17-year-old son born in 2007. My daughter came in 2011. And then my last born in 2013. And I'm a very proud dad. I love my children. It's not been easy balancing entertainment and being a father. Because there's times where the money comes in and it's nice. And there's times where it's dry and it's dry. And kids are not the easiest people to try and explain to say, listen, I know you want those shoes, but it's not the time. I can't do it for you right now. And so it really pushed me into an entrepreneurship space of where I am now. We've just recently opened a cocktail and hubbly lounge called The Artisan in Greenside in Johannesburg. Please pull through. We make the best hubbly, the best cocktails, but also we have such a great working space. So if you want to be out of office and you just need a quiet space to work in, we have a space like that for you to work in. Very chilled, got great food as well, nice tapas. I'll see you there. I'll see you there. First truck is on me. In the time of COVID, Keleso, my wife, managed to develop a chili called Tsebabang. And that brand is really grown. We also now have Tsebabang Biltong. There's other sources that are going to come on the back of that as well. And they all fall into the line of what we're doing as The Artisan, as a cocktail lounge, And I think with that in place and with those current things that we're doing now, life hasn't been easy. It's also been challenging because it's all well and fine to say, I own this and I own this and I own that. But the sleepless nights that come with that, the failures that come with that, no one really speaks about those. There's, especially our chili, when we look at our chili, there's times where our chili just didn't work. The process was just not coming together. There's times where we thought, we got it now, and then you open a bottle and the chili's rising or something's not working, and we lost money. And that process is painful, There's a point where I was the voice of 5FM for 5 years, between 2014 and 2019. And that was a good check. It was good money. I had a retainer for 5FM. And people don't know I was imaging for 5FM. They just be like, wow, this voice, this is 5FM, rocking that. Yeah. You recognize the voice. And I got retrenched from that very abruptly. Listen, next month, we're not renewing your contract and this is your last month.
Oh.
And so that was a really painful time also, and it's not easy to explain to your family, to say, guys, that those 3 cars that we have, we're going down to 1. It was very tough and challenging, and I thank Kelito for her patience through some of the things that we had to go through as a family.
Support structures.
Yeah, and ladies, when there's no money, ladies are not happy, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
I even want to encourage any young man out there, if you're thinking of getting married and you don't have your bag proper, you don't have your finances in order, stay away from marriage. We don't.
It's not the right time.
We don't live in that time anymore. Where like how our parents, they'd meet you with your bicycle and go, I believe you're gonna have a Mercedes. And they'll stand with you and go with you and pump your tires. And for sure, 20, 25 years later, you've got your Mercedes. And now your mom is telling this great story of how supportive she was to your father. We don't live in those times anymore. Build your own as a man, even as a woman. Don't wait and depend on a man to say, I'm gonna marry a guy and I'm gonna be fine. Have your own money, have your own investments, have your own dreams, and follow them, see them through. And even when you meet a man, be vocal about that and say, listen, baby, I know you're meeting me now at this stage in my life and I love you, but please know that I've got dreams of building this empire with or without you. And now that you're in my life and you believe in this thing, it's a bonus. Because together we are also going to build this empire. And as a man too, even if you meet a woman and she's going, wow, maybe you're dating her and she believes in your dreams. And now she starts putting pressure and going, so when are you getting married? Don't buy into that pressure. Tell her, listen, actually, maybe we should take a break. Let me build my empire. And if you truly love me, I'll meet you when my check-in bag is balanced.
True.
It'll help you and give you a much happier life. I've seen challenging things in my own marriage. I've seen challenging things in my own life, in my own children's lives, because I didn't have my finances in order before I got married. So I want to encourage any young person out there, especially men, young men, and don't go for looks. Looks fade.
That's true. Or you can break your nose. If they like your nose, then you're gone.
Look, I'm also not saying, just go for any girl. It's important to also marry somebody.
Go back to what your mom said.
Yes,
it's your choice.
It's your choice. But also, marry someone that you're attracted to.
True, you definitely.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if other people are going, don't cut so
But
but if you find, there's, I've met couples like that, to be honest. There's couple I've met and they're a lovely couple. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, nigga,
what's wrong?
I'm sure you could have done better. But then you see the dynamics between them. Then you see how they complement one another. Then you understand and go, okay, now I know why these two are together.
Brilliant.
So, and now when I look at the future of my life and I think of where I'm going, I really would like to see myself. I'm part of Monzi Ice Creations. I'm a creative director there.
Oh, brilliant.
And we create amazing stories.
Sorry, Leroy, before you get to that, because now you're going to tell us like what you're looking towards. And I just wanted to just emphasize the point you made about, your maker knows why they put you here. I always tell people about this fingerprint that you'll never find anyone. I was also told by my coach as well, you'll never find anyone with this same fingerprint. So which means you are made for something different.
Yes.
And yes, people can say, but block that noise and work towards what you want. And the reflection part, I'm sure from New York coming back as well, getting 3 months, short period, but you got time to reflect and start to channel yourself in the right directions that you actually wanted. So Leroy, I'm going to ask you a very important question. Actually, I'm going to leave Mambokazi to do it for you.
Don't know better.
Gas shift.
Go and ask, talk to me. Because I take a sip now.
So the floor is yours.
What
Ask.
makes you smile?
Ah, man, that's such a tricky one. But I think the thing that still makes me smile the most is when I get that call to say, you got the role.
Okay.
Nothing makes me smile more than that. Acting is my first love. I'll never stop acting. I remember my kids were like, there's a time I didn't work for so long, and my kids were like, "Oh, we thought you were retired," because of my reaction when I got the call from my agent to say, "Listen, we got this gig. You know, we were gonna start shooting on this date," and I was like, "Yeah!" And I was so happy. And my kids were like, "Why are you so happy?" I was like, "Guys, I'm going back to set." They're like, "Oh, we thought you were retired." I was like, "No." So I think nothing really beats that smile. But on a day-to-day basis, I think I know this may sound far-fetched, but I'm really one of those people. I appreciate the smallest day-to-day things in life. You know, when I wake up and I see my children and they give me a hug, it just makes me smile. It warms up my heart. My children are very loving, especially my daughter, Didintle. She will hug me 5-10 times in a day. I'll leave just to go around the corner to buy bread and come back. She's like, "Hi, Dad." I'm like, "Dude, I left like 2 minutes ago." Like, you're greeting me like I've been gone the whole day. You know, but that's what I love about her. And things like that make me smile. And then also, not to lie, guys, when that SMS that says there's been this amount paid to your account. I am Marino Fazza. Those things really make me smile because I know that once I have that ability, because money gives you ability to do things, you know. So when I'm able to do things for my family, when I'm able to, you know, even take myself out, it makes me smile. Those things, I think those are the things that really generally make me smile on a day-to-day basis.
Nice, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, that's cool. So take us 10 years. Let's fast forward. Let's see 10 years. Where do we see it?
I really want to see myself really producing and telling stories that are very unique to my mind.
Okay.
I'm a very creative person in terms of concepts. I've most probably got about a good 10 to 12 films that are conceptualized, that are written down, about 8 television shows that are written down. So, you know, in the next 5 to 10 years, my dream and my vision is to see these shows being watched. And the thing I love about my concepts is that they're timeless. So there's a film that I created about 10 years ago. And we'll most probably only make it in 2 years, but it's going to be relevant.
Oh, nice. I'm an actor, by the way, just in case.
Is it?
Yeah.
We'll see. I think Dylan knows this concept. We'll see. We'll talk about it. So that's what I really, really want to see. And also, you know, I think to the older generation, people who are in their mid-40s, going into your late 40s, I want to encourage you, because I felt this way sometimes. You know, don't let age determine where you should be in life. Because sometimes when we are in our 40s, as people in our 40s, we tend to think, you know, I'm now 45, by now I should have done this. You know, but sometimes you're holding a measuring stick next to somebody who doesn't have kids. Maybe you're holding a measuring stick next to somebody who was a great academic, and so in their journey is different from mine. Because as soon as in their academics, whilst they were still studying, they were working and getting paid real good. And even in their knowledge of life, there's people who knew about investments when they were 15, 16. And when you were 15, 16, you were thinking about, you're not thinking of like 10 years from now, this $20,000 is going to be 200,000. You know, there's a different in knowledge cases that we have. So I want to encourage everybody who's in the middle of their lives to say, it's not too late. When I sit here I'm 45 years old, going 10 years from now, I want to see my productions coming to life. There's people who've done, I was looking at Mandla N recently celebrating his birthday. he was my senior in school. You know, he was a year ahead of me. But the things that he's achieved, I'm like, wow. I admire him, and I'm looking at myself going, I'm just about to start. You know, but I'm excited about just about being just being close to the beginning. I'm very excited. Why? Because I don't have to pay that much attention to my kids, because they are of age now. You know, there's things that I know now that I didn't know then that are going to help my journey from this moment. So I'm right on time. Whereas others may look at me and go, hey, Blaz, you're starting to do this now. You know, that doesn't matter, and don't let people phase you with that, you know. So that's where I see myself, you know, 5 to 10 years. I want to see myself, I think, paying more attention to the things that make me happy and my happiness. I've spent quite a lot of time sacrificing for my family, my children, my own wife, and neglected quite a few things that make Leroy happy and things that Leroy needs to actually function and build for the future, you know. And I think as men, again, just want to holler at men, it's important that we don't neglect ourselves. It's important that we sit down and have our quiet time as a guy to say, what do I want and what makes me happy as a man? And what are the things that I need to put in place for myself? And sometimes there's a big check that will come in. Take that 10% and blow it on yourself and not feel guilty or bad. You know, because
I'm a man.
Yeah, you're a man. Yes. Because it happens to me sometimes, you know, I think to myself, I even leave, I'll be like, yeah, this 5,000, I'm going to enjoy myself. And by the time I get to the till, I'm full of things for the kids. And there's one item there for me, and it's the cheapest thing there. You know what I mean? But I think I want to see myself in the next couple of years doing things that make me happy and that I want to enjoy. And being grateful to myself for being the man that I am. You know, because a lot of the time, sometimes, and this is also a shout out to couples. You know, sometimes as couples, we're not always encouraging to one another. Sometimes as couples, we say the smallest things, but those smallest things actually become a seed. And they can actually kill dreams in you as a man, you know. And I remember, I'll give an example, because I remember my wife sometimes would be like, she'd say something like this to me, where she'd say, you know, where are you taking us? Where are you going? Where are you taking us? And sometimes I actually started thinking to myself, hey, maybe I got no vision, eh? Maybe I don't know where I'm going. You know? But also in the same token, maybe my vision wasn't very clear to her. You know, and not that to say she was just speaking down on me, but maybe my vision wasn't very clear to her.
They say they are helpers.
They're helpers.
So if man doesn't have a vision, they
What
need to
vision are
ask
they
those
helping?
questions so that you start coming back and saying, okay, so what do I need to do? Then that's when you start to see your passion, your dreams, your talents, and then say, don't worry, I'm taking you there.
Yeah. So it really helped me to, you know, refocus on what is it that I can do? What am I capable of? You know, and I think it's important to speak positivity, especially as married people, and very quick to forgive. And when I say forgive, not only forgive each other, but forgive yourself, because we make mistakes that we know of, and we try very much to justify it, especially us guys. When you make a mistake, you'll be like, no, actually, you're not understanding. The reason I had to move this and not do this is because, I'm just going to do this actually. Leave it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then sometimes you realize it too late, the mistakes that you've made. And if you don't get to a point of going, I messed up and I forgive myself. Because sometimes I think men, one of the biggest things that happen to men is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Men have good intentions. You know, I saw myself as a man. I had good intentions. I have good intentions. But sometimes because I can't forgive myself, or I don't want to accept where I've gotten it wrong, it leads me to hell. You know, so beware of the good intentions. Forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself as a man. You know, and that's where I see myself, and that's my life story, man.
Brilliant. I also want to add something on there. We're going to ask you to come on our network to mentor some young people out there.
Yeah.
Maybe just once in a while,
Yeah.
and then you can just help them, or the coaching
Yeah.
part of it, because you got great coaches, you got a good supporting
Yeah,
structure
yeah,
from
yeah.
a lot of people,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
true.
pretty sure. When you speak, you might be able to say, "Now let's go to rugby, a winger. Let's leave this. Let's move."
I see an athlete in you.
Yeah, I see an athlete. Yeah, and to handle that's actually important, to handle the externals as well.
Yes.
That's something we lack.
Yeah.
Like, how then do I handle my team when they're saying this, when they're saying this?
Yeah.
And yet I believe in myself that
Yeah.
this is it. I can feel it. This is the energy. Although it might not seem clear, but let me work with that. So we also.
No, it'll definitely be an honor. I love mentoring young people.
Nice.
Away from everything else that I do, what I do is also I train actors and speakers and MCs. Most of the time, I train young actors for free. There's people who can't afford to go to film school. And so I'll train young actors. I'm also part of Legends acting management. I'm one of their scouts. So it makes it very easy for me to sign on actors that I've trained onto the agency if they really do have the talent and they really have sort of like, harnessed the skill of performance.
Oh, brilliant.
So I really would love to come on.
Please,
I'd love to mentor.
Please
some people.
allow us also to share your details.
Absolutely.
So that people can reach out. I know there's some that are going to reach out before you get through that door.
No, for sure. That's all right. I just also want to put a disclaimer to say, when it comes to acting and performance coaching, I'm a very cutthroat person. I don't like to sell people dreams, and I don't like people to think that just because you've had a chance to sit together, it means I've got something. I'm very honest with people. You can call me and say, Leroy, like you were saying, I'm an actor. And I can go, cool, come, let's have a look. I'll do an assessment. And I'll be honest with you and I'll tell you, listen, you've got something. If not, I'll tell you, this is not for you. Leave it alone. Let's try and see what else we can focus in your life. Because I've seen young people get destroyed just from a personality point of view. We've seen it even
the hype that
parents who send their children to that singing competition and they know their children can't sing, but they're just hyping them and go, go show them. But they know. I don't like to do that.
My mom used to say, cash dog breaks no friendship. And rather do it quick there and there, and then it's better. Someone can move on.
Absolutely. So I really would love to see talent. I love young talent. I love people who believe in themselves. And if there's something, we will nurture it, we'll mold it, and we'll build it into superstars. Because I believe in superstars. I believe in young people. If you're a young actor and you really do have talent, I don't want to train anybody to become just mediocre. I've done 1-2 shows. I want to see you become a superstar. I want to see you win awards. I want to see you become internationally acclaimed. That's the desire I have when I train people. And when I train people, I give my all.
That's good.
I give a
piece of my life. It's passion. You can feel it.
Yes. It's just about funny, man.
So thank you, Leroy, man. Thank you. We really appreciate. We know it's not easy to give someone else your time and stuff. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And definitely would want to work together more. We also want guidance as well, coaching and mentorship, and also just to link up with some other people, kids, youth, or even entrepreneurs, because you're also an entrepreneur that you can assist. We are definitely going to make sure that we give you a gift. Since I don't know, with your history, you were being told about India and stuff, but we're gonna give you something authentic from your home, from Zim, and for your kids as well.
Thank you so much.
They will.
Thank you so much.
They will. The protons are there.
Let me tell you what's not making it home. These spans.
Yeah.
The Jupiters and the things. and the Cascades
Yeah.
is not making it home.
Oh, is
Stella
it?
Vita is gonna make it home.
Oh, is it? Number one.
And made the Spaletta.
Yes, it's valid.
But my spuds,
Yeah.
forget.
Okay.
Thank you so
great,
much,
man.
guys.
But thank you.
This
Thank
really
you,
means a
man.
lot. I appreciate it. And when I see a gift like this, one thing Kudama say is I'm proudly Zimbabwean. There's no way I go where people will not know that I'm from Zimbabwe. Whether I have my fine English accent on, or I drop it and I really tell them, listen, on my birthday, I also want a hamper like this.